Thursday night, so we're talking about wrestling chat with friends. I am your host, Cheats. I am joined as always by EJ the Collector. As mentioned in the past and as mentioned in the future, WCWF is brought to you by the Family Podcast Network. Very excited about what's going to happen in 2023. EJ, how you feeling?
I am here. I am present. I am accounted for, and I'm accountable. Cheats, great to see you. It's been a minute. Thanks for joining us on Tuesday, everybody. We're here on Thursday to talk AEW. But first, let's get the collector's choice. I teased it just a second ago, but let me just take a sip of my drink here.
Hey, EW. There we go. What a great mug.
Yep.
That's phenomenal.
A Valentine's Day gift from my bride.
Oh, that's fantastic.
She knows how much I love RJ City and Hey EW.
Yeah.
So shout out to RJ.
Friend of the program, RJ
Absolutely.
City, who is not willingly, but he has been on
WCWF. He may not know he's a friend of the program, but he is definitely one of our best friends. a man who deserves a graphic. Tony, get on that.
And that's awesome. That is awesome. And that's a great, great mug. We're not going to waste a lot of time this weekend. Big weekend for AEW. I will have to say, it doesn't feel like some of the other big pay-per-views that AEW's had set up. We're going into Sunday night. It is AEW Revolution is the pay-per-view. The card has been pretty much all but laid out. There's a couple of things that I guess there's an opportunity on Friday at Rampage to change the card some. But I'll start with what I said, and I'll see if you agree. To me, this doesn't feel like a huge AEW pay-per-view weekend. And I think up until this point, most of the AEW pay-per-views felt like a big deal. This one, to me, doesn't feel like a big deal.
Yeah, it kind of feels like maybe it hasn't been. It may be just kind of getting lost in the WrestleMania season shuffle. If you're a wrestling fan, you're watching both products. If you're a pure like AEW fan, I presume you're excited about this weekend. The card looks good, but yeah, there hasn't been sort of a big weekend feel to this. I think some of that is just because everyone in the wrestling world is probably a little more focused on WrestleMania, but Tony and AEW has a good card for us on Sunday, so I'm excited about it.
We're going to go through what we know every aspect of the card is and kind of what's been happening in AEW and where can we possibly go. I guess we should start right at the top. They've been building this for some time. How invested are you in MJF versus Bryan Danielson, a 60-minute Iron Man match?
Well, as far as the card goes, I'm as excited for this main event as anybody else. MJF is like pretty much my favorite AEW wrestler. I love his character. I like his gimmick. I like what he's doing with it. I like that he's a student of the game. This is really his first like major title defense, I guess. He's had a couple. He had maybe one on TV, but this is his first pay-per-view. This feud with Bryan Danielson this is culminating his first major feud as champion. 60 minutes. There have been some classic 60-minute Iron Man matches in wrestling. I know both these guys are definitely up for it. They both have given very good promos, especially especially this past Wednesday. Bryan Danielson gave a fantastic promo, and MGS promos have been usually as good as they usually are. They're intense, they're real, they're gritty. These two are looking to really get after each other on Sunday. So this is the one that's probably been hyped the most, and because of that, I'm probably most excited about this one.
I'm into it. I'm into it from this is going to be a good match standpoint. I do think with all the other antics, it is almost lost in the fact of how actually good MJF is as a wrestler. He's a really good wrestler. He does really good things in the ring. And I think Bryan Danielson, rightfully so, reputation-wise, is known as probably one of the best in-ring performers in all of AEW. I think it's going to be a really good match. 60 minutes. I'm already anticipating this AEW pay-per-view to be really long. All of them are always really long. I'm predicting this one to be equally as long just because of the other matches we have on the card as well. And because it's a Sunday pay-per-view, they don't seem to like cut time to like make things work. They just seem to go for whenever they feel like it. I'm into the story. I'm into the story, but I also want it to move on. So like I hope that this is kind of the final of this. Like Danielson's gone through all the gauntlet, you know what I mean? He gets the pay-per-view match. I'm ready for us to turn the page on it, if that makes sense, and maybe give MJF another rivalry, whether it's Adam Cole or somebody that picks it up. AEW has a hard time telling like the transition story. So, I mean, I'll be interested to see at the end of the night, are we looking at something that's like, oh, this is going to be awesome? Or is it just like, okay, this is over, what's next? And then we won't find out till the week after.
I kind of sure for some of the same reasons as you probably. I kind of hope this is a finale thing. AEW has a roster that is stacked with so much talent that can compete for a championship. You know, at other times, both in AEW and in other promotions, title feuds can last 2 to 3 pay-per-views. AEW doesn't typically do that with their title matches, even though we're going to have Moxley versus Page 4, I guess.
We're going to talk about that next. Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's enough talent there that's chomping at the bit, and I think it would behoove AEW and MJF as champion to have this, however it sort of ends out. Let's say MJF retains the title to move on to somebody else. I believe that's the plan. Tony had a press conference, I guess yesterday, or a media call where he was asked whether or not there'll be more matches added to the card. And while there could be, one thing he did say that I think showed some maturity was that with the 60-man Iron Man match, that's going to take up, a good third of that show.
Minutes,
so
yeah.
he said he's hesitant to stack that card too much, and I think that's good. To let the matches that are on the card, especially that 60-man match, breathe and not, people be so wiped out, tired, and have that match start at 11, knowing it's going to go 60 minutes. So that could be a reason why there's maybe this mat card is a little shorter than some cards are, but that's smart if you're having a 60-man.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't feel short already. It doesn't. And because I'm looking at the matches that are already confirmed, thinking there's still possibilities for other people to fit on there, especially after tomorrow night's Rampage. But the reason why we both know, you and I both know, it's going to be a long night because we've got one 60-minute match between the champion and a great wrestler. And then you already mentioned it. We've got Jon Moxley, Hangman Page. I want to say this is like volume 4, but they're going to get a lot of time. And it's going to be a lot of time. Are you excited? Are you looking forward to this match? Are you excited about it? We've seen it a couple of times. I'm always pleasantly surprised every time they get in the ring how good they are, the chemistry, how well they work together. I never leave those matches being like, well, that sucked. They're always really good.
Always.
But are we going to the well too many times?
Are you talking about Mox and Page?
Yep.
So we've moved on from MJF and Danielson.
We're going to do predictions at the very
end. Got it.
I think we've covered the.
I'll say this. Jon Moxley commands your attention.
He does.
Hangman Adam Page is a absolute fan favorite who also commands attention and can go. I don't think I'd want to see these guys fight every week, but I think it's been spaced out enough. There was a big delay because match 2 featured the injury, right? Or was that match 1 featured Page's injury?
No, match. I think it's match 1. Then they came back.
Yeah.
It took some time.
So this one, what is it? Moxley currently has 2 wins over Page. The Page is 1 win.
This is number 4, yeah. The last one was Cincinnati, who won, and Moxley won Cincinnati, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a rubber match that Mox won. So it's 2-1. But clearly there's unfinished business.
Yeah.
They tell a great story. Mox could tell a great story with anybody. So no, it's not too much for me. I want another match that I want to see this feud conclude because I think they're both ready for something else. but they deliver with so much. Those two guys, especially, and especially Mox, come out there with so much intensity and passion, as much as anyone maybe I've ever seen. Mox, who for a time almost seemed like he was done with wrestling. Toward the end of his Dean Ambrose time, before he really made his mark in AEW, one could have been concerned that whether it be his body or his mind, that maybe his heart wasn't in it. Well, anyone who thought that was clearly mistaken. The promo that Mox delivered the other day in the stairwell after Dynamite.
Didn't like it.
I'm interested in hearing why. I thought that was one of his better promos. So, yeah, I'm interested in what you didn't like about that.
I will tell you, and it's my problem with Jon Moxley now, and it's just because people bring it up all the time. You know where I'm going with this. Just too much blood. Too much blood.
He was delivering a great promo, but it was hard to look at because he had blood all over.
It was impossible to look at. It was impossible to look at because now it's gotten to the point now where it's like Moxley's leading Britain. I kind of groan. I kind of am just like, oh, great. Like, I don't think there should be a big match per se where Moxley doesn't bleed, but every match Moxley bleeds, and it's not. I think it's not like it's gotten to the point now where it's not like, oh, he did something awesome and busted his head open. No, it's like Moxley's just bleeding. He just always bleeds, and. They brought it up on other podcasts. They brought it up on some of the major podcasts we listen to. And it's just like the thing about the blood in wrestling, it's almost like you're doing something special. Like you have a great 60-minute match or great 40-minute match or something really grotesque happens and you get a lead pipe and you bust somebody's head open and you're like, oh my God, it got busted open and so forth. The way that Moxley bleeds and the the gross nature of the way Moxley bleeds, but it's every match. So we had a main event on it wasn't this week, but maybe last week's time. The main event was Moxley Evil Uno. There's no reason why Jon Moxley should be bleeding out of his skull and everything's all but with an Evil Uno match. Yeah, like beat Evil Uno and call it a day, And so that's the reason. The promo just kind of added to this. God, man, at some point I just want the guy to stop bleeding.
Yeah, well, and I've said this before, I'm a fan of. I came up on early '80s, Southern Territories wrestling where blood was pretty prevalent.
But it wasn't every match.
But they didn't have it on TV. It wasn't every match. So
unless it was Abdullah the Butcher.
Unless it was Abdullah the Butcher, or Ric Flair, who just had so much.
That's a great example. Yeah. When Ric Flair got busted open on a big pay-per-view or a big event. You're like, oh man, like I remember those days, and it's just like, man, Mox could be fighting, opening match on TV against Peter Avalon, and he's gonna bleed.
Well, it's sort of become Mox's calling card, whether he asks for it or not, or whether he does this on purpose or not. There had been, the internet has caught and replayed moments of him blading himself.
Yeah,
that's generally how it's happening. Yeah. It's also possible now that Mox, sort of like Ric Flair, has the scar tissue built up where a very small little, he doesn't have to cut himself anymore. He can just sort of nick his forehead and open him up. As someone who doesn't mind blood and actually kind of likes some blood in the match, it is happening a little too frequent. I like to see it a little bit less on TV, save some of that for the pay-per-views. But overall, it doesn't detract. Mox is the only guy who it seems normal. If other guys are bleeding with frequency, and it's sort of saved for him too. No one else is really bleeding with any frequency. What you're talking about is like what they did with like Jungle Boy, where he gets his face planted on the chair, and when he rolls over, he's bleeding. Konecki also did it a few weeks ago. Takeshita was cut open. That sort of blood you see on TV is okay. It is happening fairly regularly with Mox, and it's now his calling card, and it's just like it fits his persona and character.
Nice.
So I think it's just something we're just going to keep seeing.
We're going to keep seeing. I guarantee we're going to keep seeing. I just think he needs a.
He'll be bleeding. He'll be bleeding within 5 minutes of this Hangman match. They both will be. This will be.
Now, going back to that Evil Uno match, was it Moxley or did they bust open Uno to the point where I really thought like they should stop this because he was somebody was gushing. That wasn't like, oh no, he's just bleeding. Somebody was like, oh no, this could be bad. Like,
yeah, I think they were both busted open. I think Evil Uno may have gotten the best of it. One thing I noticed when Mox was giving his interview, Mox is dripping blood. The camera panned down to the concrete, and it seemed like a lot of blood for anybody. So if Renee is okay with it, I'm not going to complain about it. She's the one who has to go home and live with it. So I'm fine with it.
Well, I will say this:
it works for Moxley and only Moxley. So
I think they tell the story well. I don't take away the blood, take away some of the Moxley distractions.
Yeah.
If you're going into this thing 4 times in big 4 prominent matches, it's inevitable that people get tired of it. I don't think people are overly tired of this.
No.
I think this might be the end of it, but I think people are going to be looking forward to this match. They're going to look forward to Moxley and Heyman coming out and locking up and having a really hard-hitting, banging, really good match. The way they've told the story between those two, injuries, concussions, people going away, some kind of mental things with Mox and Hangman, kind of mental games. Who's really hurt? Did I hurt this person? I'm here for it. I'm just like the main event, like this match. I do feel like it's time after this to turn the page.
Yeah,
Give me one more.
I think a lot of these matches are sort of going to like reset the sort of roster and storyline. I mean, they're not treating this like the WrestleMania, but like WrestleMania, it is sort of a reset, and I think they're sort of angling that way too.
One match that probably the match that I'm looking forward to the absolute most probably will not be a reset, honestly, but I am looking forward to the Trios Championship. It's already signed, the Elite versus the House of Black. This is one where I think AEW is actually getting it right. Like, House of Black is awesome. They're using them, I think, in a way that's menacing and great, and like just doing the thing that's like, okay, now this is one of the stories in AEW where I'm like, you're telling this well. And then you're gonna have great matches with the Elite and House of Black. I'm all for it. This is by far the match on the card that I'm most excited about.
I'm pretty much there too. Like outside of the MJF, just to see how 60 minutes go with Brian. This match, and I agree with you. They're starting to tell the story well. House of Black's been a little sort of like lost in the shuffle over the last couple of months, with Malachi Black being out, then returning. Brody King and Buddy Matthews haven't been featured in a lot of singles matches. They just sort of have not been around. They've cut a couple of vignettes, but to see them come out the way they did, lay the Elite out, anticipate this match, that's done right. That really increased the level of excitement for everybody for this match to come Saturday. I'm not sure this will be the longest match on the card, but I think this is really the beginning of something with these 6 individuals. I hope that can definitely last a good long while.
Question while I have you thinking about this. Does AEW cut out the lights too much?
I don't know. I mean, it seems that when it does happen, it's effective. It's used effectively. They're not doing it for every small move. They give me another example recently when they've done it outside of that moment with the House of Black.
Here's the thing. There's been a couple of moments where they've cut the lights out. They've turned it back on and nothing's happened.
And nothing's there, yeah.
And I'm like, what? I feel like if you're going to cut them out, have somebody show up, have somebody appear in the ring, have something really cool happen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes they cut them out, and I'm like, is it a power outage? What just happened? They came back and nothing happened. So I think there was a match, not this last week, but there was a match where the Elite were wrestling. They just cut the lights out, cut them back on, and then the commentators had to cover and was like, is this the House of Black playing mind games?
Yeah, well, that's probably what it was. Like that. I mean,
Right.
that's sort of House of Black's thing is they're just trying to
Right.
play some mind games. But if you don't have those commentators explaining that, you would think, yeah, lights out, that kind of thing, and kind of like blood too. Those are all things that Tony's bag of tricks that he likes to pull out to because it probably it pops him a little bit. It does pop the fans, and I think
It
he's
pops
all
the fans because we think something's gonna happen.
yeah. He's
And
all
most
he's
of the
all about
time,
those tricks
and
and.
most of the time something does happen. Most of
Yeah,
the
and
time somebody's showing up, somebody's surrounding the ring.
it's usually important. Like if I don't want to see, you know, here's what they're going to do. You don't need to turn the lights off when Chris Statlander returns, although they might. I mean, you don't need to do it for every scenario
Right.
where it could be
Right.
big. So, I think I definitely have noticed it a lot. It's usually around the House of Black, but it's just one of
Yeah.
those sort of
I
parlor
wanted
tricks
House of Black. I
that
wanted House of
Tony
Black
has.
related. I wanted House of Black related only. I wanted exclusively House of Black.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they sort of kept it. And even like, yeah, they any kind of creative use of the building or that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff I like. I like when unusual things happen. It keeps me interested. And I like the big pops don't happen as often for me anymore because of some, just getting old and kind of seen it all. And nothing's, it has to be really important to get me out of my chair, and having lights go out, it makes you pay attention, makes you focus because you want to see it. So it's a trick that has been used for a long time, and Tony's just taking advantage of it. So I'm okay with it generally.
Let's go to the TNT Championship.
We're doing our predictions at the end, right?
We're doing our predictions all at the end.
Okay.
Quick, they'll be quicker.
All
right. They've been trying to tell this story. I mean, to the point where now we're getting sit-down interviews with Wardlow talking about his childhood.
Yeah.
But it is champion Samoa Joe versus Wardlow. Do you like how they've been building this up? Do you like this match?
I'm okay with it. Like, I don't think they've built it up that great. I think overall they've dropped the ball a little on Wardlow. They made him this really dominant, almost Goldberg-like character sort of toward the end of 2022. I guess he was nursing an injury, was off for a while. Samoa Joe seemed to have taken a lot of shine off that Wardlow character when he defeated him. I didn't quite understand that. I think Wardlow is a future star. I think Joe is having this resurgence of his popularity since he's been sort of sparingly used for the last couple of years across two promotions. Yeah, it's always good to see two big guys get it on, especially with some of the stuff that Wardlow can do. Again, this is another match where I don't have a good read on how it's going to go, even though I think it should go one way. I have less excitement for this, but it's still there. I'm still wanting to see, because I want to see Wardlow get a measure of revenge on Joe, and we'll see if that happens.
I'm with you. I agree. I think the build up to the story is a little strange. It's a little strange. I'm with you, and I think I'm with you in this, is that I don't want to see Wardlow as like a human per se with like a in-depth backstory. I want to see him as like a monster that comes out and destroys folks, and it's like Wardlow's going to destroy, like Wardlow's going to kill you. Like that's what I want to hear. But I really think that the way that they build this up, because Wardlow's got to be the face, and Samoa Joe's the heel, they've made it almost in a way where like Joe's the monster, right?
Oh, for sure.
And he's got to take on Wardlow, which I just think is a little bit out of balance. I'm always impressed with Wardlow in the ring now. I think he's gotten a lot better. I'm really excited about it. And I do think that Joe can go. So, I mean, I think this is going to be a good match. I don't know if this one's going to end the feud. I think the feud still may have legs after this is one of the feuds that I think might still have legs after the feud.
It's possible. I mean, if we get a chance to talk about it, we can. But like this week, like Ring of Honor's kind of getting like a new like re-debut on I guess the website. The Honor Club is going to start having new ROH tapings. So I think we're about to have a real change in sort of how of what the Dynamite and Rampage product looks like, because I think we're about to see some separate companies. So what this means for Joe, what this means for the the TNT title or the television title, there's a lot going on with sort of the Ring of Honor title being on Joe right now, having 2 titles. I've always thought that having 2 titles on one guy is not a good idea when you have limited TV time. So, if Joe is going to be moving to Ring of Honor, they're going to have to. There's a lot to figure out. I'm excited about that, but if this is not over, then it's going to spill onto 2 TV programs, possibly with Ring of Honor. I don't know. I'd like to see both guys. I'll see kind of everybody move on to new feuds. Maybe with the exception of House of Black and Elite. I kind of want to see everybody finish up what they're doing at this pay-per-view and start something new.
So this match is for the TNT Championship, but is Samoa Joe still holding the Ring of Honor
TV title?
As well?
He is.
Excellent. So this will go into my predictions later, but let's talk about another championship match. This is the AEW World Tag Team Championship match, which is the champions, the Gun Club, aka the Ass Boys, versus Jeff Jarrett. Oh, excuse me, Jeff Jarrett. Yeah, it's Jeff Jarrett's right. Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, against the Acclaimed is in that match as well. And is there one more tag team? Is it
Danhausen and Orange Cassidy?
And Orange Cassidy got in there last night.
Who filled in for
Best Friends.
For Best Friends.
So
and won.
A 4-way it took a while to get here. I mean, it took a while. It was like several battle royal matches to see who's going to be in this tag. I kind of like it only because we talk so much about this stacked roster and like nobody having enough time for TV. So the fact that they did like a casino battle royal and another battle royal with tags, it just allowed a lot of people to work on TV. And I was kind of excited about seeing that. Obviously, always disappointed when the Lucha Brothers lose anything.
Yeah.
but what do you make of the Acclaim, the Guns, Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, and Danhausen and Orange Cassidy?
Well, I think it's a strange combination of talent.
I agree with you. Like you had the Butcher and the Blade and they're building up like the way that they're talking about Butcher and Blade, the way that they're talking about some of these top flight. Like I think you had a lot of opportunity. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, generally, I think you took the words out of my mouth. I think Butcher and the Blade, who have sort of are slowly getting some momentum.
They are.
And that would have been nicer to see. Lucha Brothers, you could always have them in and know you're going to get something great with them.
Because they've had their run. But Top Flight, they're picking up wins. They got some momentum. And then Butcher and the Blade, I feel like is getting some momentum. And then I hate to say it because you know how I feel about Jay Lethal. You know this. But I just feel like the Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal thing is sucking oxygen out of the room. There's no reason outside of popularity that Danhausen and Orange Cassidy should have been in this match. Like,
agreed.
I just don't get it.
I want Jay Lethal in there, but I want him with a different tag team partner. Butcher and the Blade would be a much better option. When you have your 2 top tag teams historically in AEW, one is not currently active, that's FTR, and one is in a trios, the Bucks. It's nice that they were showcasing every tag team they have.
They still have a great tag division. They have a great tag division.
They do. They do not have a dominant tag team like either of those two. And the other tag team that you can make an argument for are the ones who the Ass Boys beat, just because the Acclaimed are running so hot right now. So
here's the thing.
What I'm scared of is that the Ass Boys are going to retain, and that are going to retain. That worries me.
No, they are going to retain. I bet, or the Acclaim takes it back. One of the two. And the challenge, what you're saying about this is, they have the elite tag teams. They have 3 of them. They have Young Bucks. They have FTR. They have Lucha Brothers. Now the issue is, and we talk about this all the time, you got to turn that wheel over to the younger guys. And it seemed as if the Acclaim was that tag team that it won the crowd, And it's like, I think they're trying a little too hard with the guns. The guns aren't necessarily as over. And I don't even think they're sort of heat magnets, but they're not really heat magnets.
When they were beating down their dad, they were heat magnets. Take that aspect away, they're really not.
And again, the others don't even make sense in the match. I feel like the favor that they've done Jeff Jarrett is like they've done enough for him now. Let him go behind the scenes and end this, or go to Ring of Honor, whatever. But I feel like, they gave Jeff Jarrett TV time as almost like a favor when they hired him. And it's like, God, when is this going to end? So even to like Keith Lee and Swerve, I just felt like you knew they were going to break up. But I also think that they have just like so much more potential in their tag division than they're really, than they're utilizing in this particular match. Now, I guess here's a question for you. Do you think the Guns can be tag team champions that kind of carry the company from a tag division standpoint?
Hell no.
I don't either. That's the
not even close.
I'm not even 100% sure that the Acclaim can do it. The Acclaim is over, but I don't know if they can carry, like the Usos carry the company from the tag division. The New Day carry the company from the tag division. We know the Bucks can do it. We know FTR can do it.
Right.
I have more confidence in Brett's friends doing it than I do the Guns. Like 100%.
And Trent,
Brett, and Chuck. Yeah. Or Butcher and the Blade. I think you got work to do to get there, but I definitely, top flight. They're green. The Acclaim is green. The Guns are green. And and in a way, I think we have these arguments with ourselves about like, okay, well, when's it going to be their time? But if they're the future, if they're going to be at All Out and all the other pay-per-views as the top of the I don't see that happening.
Yeah, agreed. While there are a bunch of talented tag teams in AEW, there aren't really any that you can look at, maybe outside of the Acclaimed, mostly just because they're over, that you feel could have a, months and months long run defeating all challengers. Yep. The Guns do not feel like that's
they're
it.
Temporary. The Acclaim felt temporary.
It is definitely it's exposing a weakness in that division when FTR goes away and you realize, oh man, there really isn't a tag team that seems to be like elite level talent. And you think about you just don't count the Bucks right now because they're holding belts, just not a tag
right.
team.
And you don't count House of Black because they're more focused on trio, but they could
same reason.
I guess the question is, at this point, we'll move on. But do you think they broke up Keith and Swerve too soon?
No, but they didn't play out their feud, and maybe I guess they're still kind of going on. But that would have liked to have seen a longer extended feud with Keith Lee and Swerve, but we didn't get that either. So they didn't seem like that was a tag team that was working anyway.
I think somebody said they broke them up too soon.
If you need another powerful tag team, that you could have kept them for a while, but no, they're both better as single talent.
And where's the tag team that was with Brian Cage and those guys? They were pretty destructive. Like
they're currently the Ring of Honor 6-man champions.
Yeah, but all right, let's move on and then we'll get to our predictions. I got two more matches listed. Speaking of championships, the AEW Women's World Championship. Jamie Hayter, Saraya, and Ruby Soho. I just hope everybody makes it out of here alive. I just hope everybody makes it out of here healthy.
Hope no one gets their face blown apart.
I hope Ruby's safe.
I hope Ruby's safe. Those are 3 of the 4 top women, so good, get at it. This would be a great time for Chris Statlander to return.
I don't think they're 3 of the 4, maybe 3 of the 6.
3 to 6.
Because you got to get Jade in there as a top woman.
Jade's not a good wrestler. Jade's not a good wrestler.
I think she's the top. Not the top. Brett Baker, Jade. If you're talking about 5 women in AEW. You can't leave Jade out of it.
No, she's in there, but
you can't leave Brett out of it.
Yeah, you say this regularly that they got to work Jade into the world title picture if they're serious about this, and I now agree. Now it almost looks like, because again, they're not featuring Jade enough.
No.
She's having nothing but squash matches. This streak she's on should be a top story in AEW. It's
meaningless.
So I don't know what they're doing with that.
And it's amazing how they do it, right? Because at one point, say 6 months ago, when Thunder Rosa was champion, we're being like, Jade's the biggest deal. The streak's the biggest deal in all of women's AEW. And now the streak continues, but yet she's an afterthought. Like, I just don't know how AEW kind of puts this together, because at one point Jade was we were talking about the women's world championship being irrelevant.
Yep.
Because Jade was such a big deal. And now we're sitting here talking about, like, where is Jade? Like, what is going on here? And it's because they put her in horrible feuds. The only good feud they put her in was the Nyla Rose feud. That was a good one because Nyla Rose carried it.
God, where's Nyla Rose been?
Where is Athena? Where are these people?
Now, they're on Dark somewhat regularly. True. So, I mean, that's not getting a ton of eyes. But if you're an AEW fan, you're checking into those programs. Yeah, I'd like to see Jade be inserted into Dynamite regularly. I'd like to see her start getting to it. But if you're not going to do that, if you're going to keep Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker and Saraya and Toni Storm as this let him go at it. Ruby Soho probably is the one I like the most in that group. So I don't know what bodes for her, as far as the results of this match, if she's just sort of the third wheel or not. But, there's nothing particular about this match that has me excited, but, I'll watch it and, like you, just hope that no one hurts anybody.
Everybody. I've said this plenty of times. I think Saraya is a horrible wrestler. There's not one thing that she
didn't used to be.
There's not one thing that she's done that I actually think like, oh, she's an amazing wrestler. So I just hope they move on and start to utilize, like, because again, we have Serena Deeb, we have Sheet. I don't even know if they're still in a contract at this point because I haven't seen them in so long.
Right.
So yeah, where is Serena Deeb? Did she get hurt? What's going on here?
She's a backstage coach. Emi Sakura's been on a little bit lately. But
a lot. She's been on a lot.
Yeah, but they're just not. They're not. They're not utilizing.
It's the same story that we talk about with AEW all the time. It's just an embarrassment of riches, and you only have 3 hours of TV time that matter, right?
And you have to get, and seemingly Tony has to get Britt Baker enough TV time. That's and deserving.
Well, do we want to talk about this now? Because everybody's talking about it in the Twitterverse. This is this could end what is like Britt Baker's pay-per-view streak. She's not on the card right now to wrestle at Revolution. If she doesn't, I think this may be her first pay-per-view that she misses not being on the card. And she's a healthy scratch. She's not a, she's not like an injury. What do you think about this?
Oh, I think it's okay. I mean, I read an interview with her this week where she said that it's been a little bit backed off, like her attention,
her interactions with Tony, and
she didn't really, when she explained that, she said, when I was champion or whatever, that she was constantly receiving tweets and calls from Tony. So I don't know if I couldn't tell if she was a little bit disappointed or bitter, or if she was just explaining how, like, it's just a cycle that
I think she was just explaining it, because she didn't actually, she was very effusive and loving to Tony during that whole interview. It's like, this guy is awesome. He's the best guy to work for in the world. And this is just kind of what happens in the business. Okay. Well, then if that's what's in the business and she misses this pay-per-view because she's in Tony's corner, she'll be involved, obviously. And I do believe that somewhere down the line, Jamie and her will split up and feud with each other. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I'm okay with Britt missing this pay-per-view. She's still gonna be a presence there. I'm glad Ruby's getting a title match because she's someone who's probably hasn't been featured enough. So, but yes, I don't have tremendous excitement for this match because this storyline hasn't really gotten me hooked in yet. Please forgive us, because I do think we made a major omission
What's
when
that?
we talked about Samoa Joe Wardlow. It's Samoa Joe Wardlow and Powerhouse Hobbs, right? Based off of last
No,
night, or no? Okay,
no. Hobbs
okay.
is getting a
Hobbs
title match next week on Dynamite
next week on Dynamite.
because
Okay,
he won
because he
the
got the. I just want to
yeah
make sure because I got the ring. I didn't know if they threw him in the match, but it's after the pay per view. He takes on the winner for the TNT title.
takes on the winner, right?
All right, let's get to the last match that we know of on the card that's confirmed, and that is the Ricky Starks Jericho JAS banned from ringside match.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we on this?
Well, there's only one outcome that would be positive. I think they're going to do that, but I'm never 100% sure. Is this the match that really puts Ricky Starks into that upper stratosphere? I don't think so.
Nope.
Just because I'm not blaming Tony or anybody else for this, but like Ricky's been ready for months. This match with Chris Jericho, who again, top star, you can do anything with him, total pro, but he doesn't quite have the gravitas that he had maybe 6-8 months ago.
Nope.
So a win by Ricky Starks is not going to suddenly thrust him into anything more important.
Nope.
This is just sort of like a revenge match. Ricky gets his chance to whoop up on Jericho, this is
exactly why, even though you and I both and a lot of wrestling fans get frustrated about this, but this is exactly why you don't job to Action Andretti if you're Chris Jericho, because now you've got to have a meaningful match, or you're supposed to have a meaningful match on a pay-per-view. But now if Ricky Starks goes over, which he should, it's great. But Jericho's losing to Action Andretti. Jericho's losing to Eddie Kingston. Jericho's losing. And I know constant professional legend. We know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right? Like Young Bucks lost to Top Flight. We know it. But if you're not going to use that momentum and kind of help springboard whoever gets this, Young Bucks get pinned clean in the ring by Top Flight, and then Top Flight's losing again the next week. You know what I mean? It's like, we got to figure these things out. And so the frustrating part about this is what you just said. Ricky Starks has been ready for months. The crowd was hot on Ricky Starks. They were loving it. They were eating it up. And they didn't put any strap around his waist. They could have put TNT or something around his waist so he could be kind of the next guy in line. And they just didn't do it. And now I do think he's losing steam.
I do. And, I love Orange Cassidy, but that All Atlantic title just seems like a prop for Orange Cassidy.
Means nothing.
Means zero. Ricky Starks, some heel beats Orange Cassidy. Ricky Starks takes that. It doesn't mean anything. Totally meaningless, and that's a big problem for wrestling company to have.
Couple things we want to go through really quickly. There's a potential match, Jungle Boy Christian Cage.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
You think it lands on the pay-per-view?
Yep.
Are we excited about this? What do we think?
I think it's cool that Christian Cage is still out there getting it done. He's sort of a pro. I don't like this character he has right now, but I'm not supposed to like it. Like no one, but I really don't like these, personal attacks with his family. Like it just seems.
And I tell you what, I really liked Outwork Everybody. Like I liked that when Cage got the belt over Omega. Like, you know what I mean? We were, and he was and Omega was the heel, and Cage is like, we love that. We were eating that up,
Yep.
And now it's like, we still don't know exactly what's up with Luchasaurus. Like, this is just kind of confused. But I think they do have something as a potential star in Jungle Boy Jack Perry. And they, like Ricky Starks, they got to figure these things out, man.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not a huge Jungle Boy fan. Like, I don't think he has quite the personality to be a headline performer. But, I looking in hindsight, I think that tag team with him and Luchasaurus probably was the best thing
thing they had. Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree with you.
So we'll see some comeuppance, but where does it go after that? I don't know, and more importantly, I don't have a ton of interest to care what happens.
I'm with you. So we talked about this with Orange Cassidy and Danhausen out in the tag match. That means that Orange Cassidy probably will not defend the All Atlantic Championship on the pay-per-view. He's already booked. We talked about Jade Cargill. Do we think she makes an appearance on the pay-per-view? They haven't built anything up.
Zero. Maybe they have this Friday to possibly do something, but I don't think she's going to have a match. Can we talk about Eddie Kingston quitting AEW?
We can't talk about Eddie Kingston. We'll talk about Eddie Kingston, and then we'll make our predictions. But I think now the story plays out the way you said, which is you gotta do some real exclusive hardcore ROH stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Eddie Kingston to me sounds like a perfect fit, along with Mark Briscoe, along with Jay Lethal, along with Samoa Joe. Claudio Cat, like they just seem like, all right, if we're gonna do a real brain split, let's get those guys over there.
Yeah, and I think the way that with Eddie basically piecing out AEW and expressing that helps the transition. I think that will help draw some eyes because Eddie does draw eyes. People are invested in Eddie. They do care about Eddie.
I'm invested in Eddie. I just don't think he can wrestle. I'm invested in Eddie.
So you take him off AEW TV, you put him on ROH along with these other guys too. It is a gamble because people love to see Eddie on TV.
I love Eddie.
And if you're going to commit to, it's like, all right, you want to keep seeing Eddie and Samoa Joe and these guys who you've gotten, it's got to work. And I hope it does. I'll subscribe. I'll pay $10 a month to support Ring of Honor TV and catch Ring of Honor, but it's got to hold attention. If you're just saving Eddie Kingston for those diehard Ring of Honor fans and you don't give them a sort of a general audience, I think you run the risk. Man, I mean, Rampage is drawing 800,000 plus a week. You take some guys off TV that people probably specifically tune in for, that could be trouble. I'm actually quite nervous about, I'm excited about the launch of Ring of Honor, but I'm nervous about, AEW management has some obstacles trying to get one show off the ground. Now they're going to be responsible for a whole nother promotion. I don't know. But either way, Eddie doesn't seem, Eddie never really felt comfortable in front of the TV anyway, but that, I hope we still see him on AEW TV, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's now going to be a if he does go to Ring of Honor full time, put a strap on him. Let him carry a title. He's deserving of it.
I don't know if he's going to be a strap.
Not the world title necessarily, but
there was some rumors of Eddie Kingston in WWE. I don't think that's true. I think he's under contract.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that. I
did hear that on the Twitter.
It was a complete work. I think this.
Absolutely.
I quit storyline.
It's such a work that they waited to cut to, like Lexi Nair was like, we got a special interview with Eddie Kingston. What's this? It's
right. And Tony said in the media call he had today or yesterday, when asked about Eddie quitting, I guess it was today, he said, stay tuned for more wrestling business. That's just an ad for Ring of Honor. Everyone knows it's a work. So, Eddie's had a very interesting run in AEW at times.
Eddie's had the best. No, he had the best run of his life. Let's call a spade a spade. Eddie was in poor health, poor mental state, wrestling in a step above high school gyms before Cody called him over and he gets on AEW TV. And now, to his credit, he made himself a complete star in AEW. He did it. He deserves it. But Eddie wasn't like a demand. He's a demand ticket now. He wasn't a demand ticket before this stuff happened. So he's had an amazing run, a storybook run. And I think he'll tell you that himself.
And I want him to continue to have success. And if it's in Ring of Honor, if it's in AEW, we'll be following it because Eddie's our guy. Best wrestler on the Ring of Honor roster named Eddie Kingston. We'll start saying that now.
Let's go through this quick. And our friend on Facebook, if you want to chime in as well, you can put your answers in the chat. We're gonna go. Let's just go in reverse order here. Ricky Starks, Chris Jericho, JS banned from ringside. I think we're both taking Ricky Starks in this one.
I think Ricky's going to win.
Yep, we're both taking Ricky Starks. Any shenanigans, just Ricky Starks wins.
I think he'll have to fend off an attack after the match with JAS, and I'd like to see somebody come to Ricky's aid. Don't know who that's going to be yet, but Ricky could use some help against JAS, especially if this feud's going to continue. But look for Menard and Garcia and Guevara and all those guys to come out and try to get one over on Ricky once he gets, hopefully, a clean win over Chris Jericho.
Another tag team that I thought they could have done more with, 2.0. TNT Championship, Samoa Joe, Wardlow. Who wins this thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's
I'll tell you, I'm going Wardlow, but I'm going Wardlow. Get the belt off of Joe, have Wardlow be the TNT champion, then Joe can go be the TV champion at Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I mean, that would certainly be the right thing to do, I think, from like a continuity standpoint. I don't like wrestlers holding two titles. And if they are going to launch Ring of Honor, might as well have Joe as the current television champion move over there. He would have to surrender that TNT title. Yep. And I think everybody wants to see Wardlow get exact some revenge on Joe. So, yeah, I'd agree. I think Wardlow's going to walk away champ. Wardlow and Hobbs next Wednesday will be great.
It'll be great. AEW World Tag Team Champions, Guns, Acclaim, Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, and Danhausen and Orange Cassidy. I'm going with the Guns retaining.
Okay. Well, if you're going with the Guns retaining, I am going something about the Best Friends not being cleared to wrestle and having Danhausen and Orange Cassidy submit their name, and then they won last night.
But that puts two belts on Orange Cassidy.
It does. Nah. And I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not there.
There's just something about it. Like, you don't need to put a title on Danhausen at all. You don't even really need to have Danhausen wrestle too much. He's really a manager of Best Friends at this point.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't.
And a comedy act, and that'd be just fine. There was just something about last night, and I'm going to say somehow, some way, Danhausen's going to hold gold in AEW, and Danhausen and Orange Cassidy are going to win the tag team titles. I know I'm probably wrong, but I think something about last night, the way it manifested, made me think, oh, they're going to maybe they're going to seal a deal here. So I'm going with that pick, knowing that I'm likely wrong.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Do you think Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett go to Ring of Honor? Yes or no?
Yeah.
So, because otherwise, if you said no, they're going to stick around for a while, I might put the straps on them. But
how much do they have to thank Jeff Jarrett for gracing their presence?
But we also talked about who has the charisma to carry those tag titles for a while, maybe into the next pay-per-view. And if you put Satnam Singh, Sanjay Dutt, Jeff Jarrett, and Jay Lethal, the mic alone, they could talk enough stuff to the next pay-per-view. You know what I mean? And cheat their way to wins. So
they certainly could. I think for the same reasons. Yeah, for the same reasons, I think it's good for them to go to Ring of Honor.
I'm going to stick with the Guns, but if it's not the Guns, I say they're still paying Jeff Jarrett back.
Okay, well, I'm going to say Danhausen and Orange Cassidy, and if that doesn't happen, I think the Acclaim retakes it then. So we've got all four.
We're all wrong here. We're all AEW Women's World Championship. Hayter, Saraya, Ruby Soho. Who walks away champion?
Well, I'm afraid it's going to be Saraya, but I'm going to go ahead and say Hayter retains. Even though I'd love to see Ruby Soho get it, and I think she's deserving of it, she's just, I don't think, in a position to hold the world's title right now for some reason. I'm going to say Hayter retains, but I think Hayter should win, but I don't know if she's gonna. But that's my pick, is Hayter retains.
I'm going to go with what I think is the best thing for the company, and that is Saraya walks away as a champion. And I just think that I love Hayter. She's over with the AEW crowd. You put the title on Saraya, and I think you just got a bigger audience, like for the women's division. Yeah,
I mean, she is sort of the talent who's really known because of her time.
She's the most known entity in the women's division universally because of her time in WWE and all the other things that she's known for. I just think that if you put the title on her, then you're like, I just think it's bigger. Now and again, Hayter is over with the AEW crowd.
Yep.
Ruby Soho is over with the AEW crowd. Saraya, I think, is still a little bit of a we don't know yet, but she's by far the biggest entity on there.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go Saraya. You're gonna go Hayter.
Yep.
All right. Where are we at
poor
now?
Ruby. I'd be so thrilled if Ruby won it. Just not going to happen.
We are at what we think is our favorite match of the night: House of Black, the Elite Trios Championship. Who do you got?
If they did this right, in my opinion, House of Black would squash the Elite.
They're not going to squash them.
Show how powerful and scary and dominant this team really could be and is by having a squash, having them walk away with the titles. Not going to happen because Kenny Omega doesn't get squashed.
No, the Bucks don't get squashed.
The right thing to do, I think, we put the titles on House of Black.
Yep.
I think that's what's going to happen, and I am looking forward to those three being crowned. Again, Bucks and Omega are big enough stars that they can be top talent without titles. They will. All three of them will get their chance at titles again in the future. Omega's obviously going to be someone who probably will compete against MJF down the road.
Yep.
Bucks it'll be natural for them to be back in a tag team title hunt soon. But yeah, House of Black is really one of the only real 6-man factions they have been since the beginning. And yeah, they should be champs. They're going to win.
I agree with you 100%. I'm with you. House of Black, I think it's their time. Just don't screw it up. Let's go to Jon Moxley, Hangman Page, Texas Death Match number 4. A lot of blood. Who do you got winning? And like I said, we hope they move on after this.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I don't know, I'm going to go ahead and say there's either a double count out, double DQ, some sort of no contest ending. I don't think we get a clean winner in this. I don't know how they're going to do it, but Moxley winning feels right. Page coming back to even it at 2 also feels right. The crowd loves both these guys, so I don't know how you do this somehow without hurting somebody's momentum or status. So because of that, I'm going to say just neither man can continue. They beat each other so senseless and so bloody. They both get counted out for not being able to continue because, giving one of them the win almost doesn't feel right to me. So I say double something, no finish.
I'm going to go. I do think there's going to be finish. I think there's going to be clean finish. And I think it's going to be Hangman Page.
Ooh.
And I think Hangman Page wins this thing. And we've talked about this for months, weeks on end. If there is ever a time for Jon Moxley to take a vacation, I think he can do it now. I don't know if he will, but I think Hangman goes over. Moxley takes a little bit of a back seat simply because Moxley doesn't need to win this match. Mm-hmm. He's going to be Jon Moxley no matter what. I do think a returning Hangman Page, kind of helps him, elevates him a little bit, gets him over. But I think you give Moxley a good pat on the back and give him some FTR treatment right now and be like, hey man, you don't have to be here every week.
Especially after cutting that promo last night, he talks about how this is his life and everything, and he does everything. Well, they can do anything with it. But yeah, it's not a bad guess. That'd be a good thing for Mox.
I think it'd be a great thing for Mox. Mox, if anybody needs a break, that guy needs a break. And when we say Mox goes on break, he's probably still going to be wrestling for GCW and Defy and all these other places.
Right. Yeah.
Japan. He'll probably go to Japan for a bit. Who knows? Main event time. MJF, Bryan Danielson, 60-minute Iron Man match. End of the night. This one, I think MJF retains. I think this is going to be a whole year run of him knocking out a lot of that list we talked about when he got the title. I think it's going to be a good match. I think it's going to be a long match. I think they're going to work really hard. But at the end of the day, this is MJF's time. This is not Bryan Danielson's time in my mind. So I think this feud ends Sunday.
I agree, and I agree MJF goes over. So let's make a call on the final fall count. Is it 2-1? Is it 3-2? Is it 4-2? What's the fall count going to be?
Yeah, it's probably just gonna be 2-1.
2-1.
I mean, I think they I don't think it's gonna be a lot. I just think they wrestle.
I'll say 3-2. If you're going to go 2-1, I'll say 3-2. Yeah, this is you said it right. This is MJF's time. He just won the title, just to get a new belt. Bryan Danielson is someone who should have a run with that AEW title, and I don't know how much longer he plans on doing this, but it's not the right time to take the title off MJF and put it on Danielson. So yeah, you got MJF needs to have a dominant run throughout the majority of this year, if not the entire year. Put a lot of competitors in front of him. Let him have 2 and 3 match runs with the next 2 or 3, 4 competitors. You can always bring Bryan Danielson back at some point, but Danielson's so good that I want to see him just go from competitor to competitor, doesn't need the title. And again, this is MJF's time. MJF needs to win and continue to hold that title, the Triple B, for much longer to give him credibility as a star.
I agree. I agree on the outcome. Here's the last thing we'll ask before we get out of here. Any shenanigans, any surprises? Because we didn't talk about if anyone plays a role that we're not mentioning, any kind of big surprise comebacks, anything that happens that we just didn't see coming.
I would say it's time. I think Chris Statlander's about to come back.
Okay.
But it doesn't feel right Saturday because I think Chris Statlander would come back and feud with Jade. So unless Jade has some feature on Saturday night, I don't think Statlander comes back to get involved in the women's world title feud. She might. Statlander is someone I want to see return. I guess Hook's going to wrestle Stokely on Dynamite, not on Revolution, right?
Right.
I'm excited about that.
I am. Stokely's doing some of the best work I've ever seen right now.
So. Yeah, I don't know who's on the verge of coming back now. So I don't really think that's going to happen. Who you got anybody in mind?
I'm interested to see if Adam Cole somehow makes his way into that, does something with that main event. I'm just trying to figure out if Adam Cole has something to do with it.
Well, the new TV series that Tony Khan has talked about, this AEW All Access show that's going to premiere, apparently the first main storyline of that show will be Adam Cole's recovery from injury. Mm-hmm. So for that, it would make sense to have him be in a title picture to coincide with that show. He's making his in-ring return, I guess, in another
the same night of the show.
Same night of the show.
The show debut.
So I don't know how physical he'd get on Saturday, but maybe sort of sending a message to MJF. Yeah, I don't think Kyle O'Reilly is anywhere close to being back. So as far as a Cole and Kyle O'Reilly tag team, doesn't seem likely. Yeah, I'm excited to see Cole back in. I hope they treat him right.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that Powerhouse Hobbs makes his presence known in the TNT title match.
Sure.
This weekend prior to his shot. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm not hearing any, again, that's why it's I'm not hearing any buzz about major returns or converts or a big splash. There is a lot more talk this week about should AEW welcome CM Punk back.
Yeah, I've heard that.
There's a lot more talk about it. They talked on Busted Open with Dave LaGreca, Mark Henry, Bubba Ray. All of them, to a man, says they should welcome him back. Not welcome him back with open arms, but hey, look, if he wants to go, I think kind of everybody's talked about this ad nauseum. And again, this is more wrestling inside baseball stuff that I don't think the layman really cares about.
Right.
But the hardcores, the
Mm-hmm.
hardcore people that have followed the industry for a long time are saying AEW won't be able to put this behind them, this whole thing, until Punk comes back in some way.
I think there's a fair amount of truth to that. What we did find out in the last week is that at some point Omega and the Bucks made a public apology, or not a public apology, made an apology to the locker room. I think Punk should, if and when he does come back, should do something similar. I think because I think everyone acknowledges that. And Kenny Omega was on the sessions with Renee this week too. Talked about it very little bit, said it just wasn't good for anybody. He felt bad for everybody that it happened, even though the public will never really know all the facts of what kind of went down. But the fact that he has mentioned it, the fact that he's sort of back, and the fact that apparently the Bucks and Kenny made comments to the locker room. If I'm Tony Khan, I am very much trying to get CM Punk back from just an interest standpoint and a viewership standpoint. But for the same reasons you just said, that this is going to hang over that company.
Yeah, it's kind of put an albatross on this company that, I think a lot of people can't move on or haven't really moved on. It's like before this and after this hasn't gone nearly as well as before this. So they're trying to see, like, how do we get this thing back on track?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know how much CM Punk right now is chomping at the bit to get back. He seems just fine with leaving a business altogether for a long time. And the way he went out after All Out, if he has interest in returning, I think you make whatever overtures you need to make to try to get him back in the fold. Hopefully in the back of their minds, they're thinking about how much money can be made from All Out 2023.
Yep.
Omega versus Punk. I mean, that story writes itself. So there's time, but you want to get it. I think you want to start thinking about it, because I think that's the shot in the arm that AEW needs right now, is to actually get CM Punk back. A lot of people have made excuses for weeks about what you need, don't need, or months now. I think it's pretty clear you need CM Punk back for lots of reasons. Viewership, and as like you said, just to get it's clear people will continue to talk about this until there's something new to talk about with CM Punk, and he has to just get back into the fold and go out there and have a killer. It'd be the best story in years if you had Punk and Omega throughout the summer going toward each other for All Out. It's going to be, that's the dream scenario, I think, that AEW needs to get sort of back on solid footing.
I just checked for those that are interested and care about this sort of thing. CM Punk is still listed on the AEW roster on their website.
Okay.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. We will watch Rampage on Friday, and we will be probably live tweeting some during Sunday night's AEW pay-per-view Revolution. It's still going to probably be a long one, but we will figure it out. That's it, man. I think we got to count this thing out. Great show. Always good to be with you, EJ. Check us out on Tuesday for the Tuesday show. And then back here next Thursday to recap Revolution. All right?
Let's do it.
Count it out. 1, 2, 3. We are out of here.